The Wirtgen cold milling machine training video is intended only as a supplement to the instruction manual for your Wirtgen machine and the Wirtgen safety manual. The instruction manual for your Wirtgen machine and the Wirtgen safety manual contain detailed operating and safety instructions and should be followed at all times. These manuals are an important part of the entire machine. This training video does not relieve you of the following responsibilities: reading and understanding the instruction and safety manuals, following the instructions set forth in these manuals, or training your fellow workers before working with or on the Wirtgen machine to which they apply. As road builders, you don't have to be told how dangerous your job can be. That's why we're here today, to give you a refresher about safety and the Wirtgen cold milling machine. We believe that Wirtgen produces the highest quality machines on the market and, when operated properly, are the safest and most economical in the world. During this video, you will learn important information about the safe setup and operation of the Wirtgen cold milling machine. We know you're probably familiar with all this information, but in our business it's always better to be safe than sorry. So stick with us through this video. Let's begin by looking at the safe way to transport and unload the machine. The first thing to remember is before the machine can be brought to the work site, the area must be cordoned off to public traffic. It's important that all obstacles are removed from the machine's path of travel and area of operation. There it is, the Wirtgen cold milling machine. Notice how the driver parks the truck in a safe, level area near the construction site. Once the truck is safely parked, the driver works with the operator to offload the machine. They begin by loosening all the tie downs around the machine. The lowboy is then lowered, the ramps put into place and secured, and the last chains removed. Now the machine is made ready to unload. Don't forget, when entering the operator's station, it is important to close all the guardrails. If your machine is equipped with a canopy, it is raised at this time. Before starting the engine, the operator makes sure that no one is near the machine. When offloading, the operator works with a guide. This is especially important when making any movements where the operator is unable to see all areas around the machine. In addition to the guide, a backup alarm and a system of warning lights alert anyone in the immediate vicinity that the machine is moving. Once offloaded, the guide helps the operator park the machine in a safe place until it is needed. Everyone who works on or around the cold milling machine is required to have read and understood both the operating instructions and the safety manual. If you have any questions, you should ask your supervisor. The operator must do a pre-operational inspection before operating the machine. It is important that you go through these inspections because incorrect startup and operation of the machine is dangerous and can result in serious injuries. Be careful while doing your inspections. Even a routine check can present potential dangers. Start by making sure that all warning decals and safety devices are present and in order according to the instruction manual. Safety signs and stickers should be intact and legible. These warning decals identify potential hazards when operating the machine. It is crucial that you pay attention, understand, and follow these safety warnings. They will help keep you and your fellow workers safe on the job site. More detailed information on these warnings is contained in the operating and safety manuals. Check the machine for visual faults or alterations, in particular to the safety devices. These safety devices are there for a reason. Make sure that all guards, covers, and protective elements are correctly installed. As we mentioned earlier, the machine has backup alarms and warning lights. These too must be checked for proper functioning. Check the fuel and oil levels, as well as their lines. They should not be loose or damaged. Check that the hydraulic and pressure hoses are tight with no leaks. Check the spray bars and nozzles for proper operation. Check the electrical cables and connections for abrasions and damage. And always make sure that you have a working fire extinguisher. Check that all safety cables, bolts, retainer clips, and other safety elements are correctly installed and in good condition. Make sure that all accessories like tools, picks, and other equipment are cleared from the area and safely stowed away. Make sure that all boxes, compartments, and doors are closed and secured. And adjust all controls to the off, zero, or neutral position. After finishing the walk-around, any irregularities or damage should be noted and corrected before milling. Don't skip these inspections and any necessary fixes. Failure to have your machine in safe working condition is the first step towards an accident. Once the walk-around is complete, the lights and warning beacons are installed. The grade controls or height adjusters are then installed on the side of the machine out of the danger zone. The ground crew uses these controls to regulate the depth of the milling. The operator now checks the operator station. Always use the steps, platforms, and handles when getting on and off the machine, and only start and operate the machine from the operator station. And remember, never get on or off a moving machine. The steps, platforms, and handrails are to be kept in good condition and free of dirt, grease, oil, snow, and ice. The operator station is designed to be technically and ergonomically a first-class place to work, so keep it clean, organized, and free from clutter by storing items away when they are not being used. To ensure your comfort, the cushion seat and switchboard, also known as the control panel, can be adjusted to the working situation currently at hand. Check that all gauges and readouts are easy to read and free from dust and dirt. Mirrors should be properly adjusted. The mirrors are not intended as a safety device because they only allow the operator to see small areas around the machine. As a result, the operator still has several blind spots. That's why it's important for the operator and ground crew to have eye contact and communication before the machine moves. Pay close attention to this animated sequence. Notice how the operator can only see a small amount of what happens around the machine. That's why the ground crew is the eyes and the ears of the operator when the machine is moving. A constant line of communication must be maintained with them. When in doubt, the operator should not move until all personnel in the vicinity of the machine are accounted for. Keep in mind that all machines have danger zones, and the Wirtgen cold milling machine is no exception. Danger zones are any area around a machine where injury can occur. Accidents happen because of complacency and carelessness, so pay close attention to your surroundings at all times. Let's take a look at the most common danger zones, keeping in mind that danger zones change during operation. Up to 2 meters or approximately 6 feet or more behind the machine, near the tracks while steering, around the front and rear of all 4 tracks. The pinch points between the secondary conveyor and the machine, the inside of either of the 2 conveyors and the exit of the secondary conveyor, and in between the milling drum and the rear track. The machine can make sudden maneuvers due to its steering capabilities. The path of the machine creates additional and changing danger zones. Remember that the operator has blind spots and cannot see all areas around the machine. Now that we have reviewed these danger zones, let's go over some helpful tips to keep everyone safe. Position the ground crew so that they can monitor the danger zones. Make sure all crew members are familiar with the communication signals and signs. Keep an eye on all persons in the vicinity of the machine at all times. Stop the machine immediately if anyone enters a danger zone or if you approach any unauthorized personnel with the machine. Additionally, never position yourself in the danger zones and never assume the machine will not move. When in doubt, stay out. Prior to starting up or moving the machine, always ensure that no one is underneath the machine, within the slewing area or the discharge conveyor, or near the wheels or tracks. Now let's take a moment to cover the personal protective equipment, or PPE, that you may be required to wear when working with and around the machine. A hard hat, safety boots, safety glasses, hearing protection, and work gloves as needed. A dust mask may also be needed. Depending on the conditions, dust can develop and possibly cause a health hazard. If you are unsure, check with your supervisor. Every workday should start with a job briefing or tailgate meeting. During this meeting, your supervisor should cover what work will be done that day, as well as everyone's responsibilities, including the traffic patterns inside and outside of the traffic control areas. This includes not only vehicles on the road, but also the construction vehicles on the job site itself. The machine's movements, so everyone can be aware of and stay out of the danger zones. And how the machine's operator and ground crew will communicate when the machine is in operation. Any foreseeable hazards should be discussed and procedures for dealing with them. Does the machine need to cross under a bridge? Are there any power lines in the area? What is the procedure for clearing material from the scraper? These are the kinds of questions you need answers to. Now, you're almost ready to fire up the engine and start milling. But before you do so, check that all fuel and water tanks are filled. And it should go without saying that you should never start the engine or operate the controls if they have a warning sign attached to them stating that they are not to be operated. After you've made those checks, make sure that no persons or obstacles are next to, in front of, behind, or under the machine. Then, sound the warning horn 3 times and start her up. Once you begin to maneuver, pay attention for unusual noises, smoke development, or other unusual circumstances. Stop the machine immediately in the event of such a problem, and have the problem fixed before continuing. The operator should always have complete control over the machine and never operate it beyond its capacity. We've said it before and will say it again and again. Only operate the machine if you can see everyone in the vicinity of the machine, and if the ground crew members have signaled that all danger zones are free. And it is extremely important that no one, we mean absolutely no one, be around the machine when it is reversing. This turns the entire area around the machine into a danger zone. Everyone must stay clear and never approach a machine when it is reversing. Remember, when you hear the backup alarm, stay clear of the machine. Now that we've gone through all the pre-operational safety checks and procedures, it's time to put the Wirtgen cold milling machine to work. But before we get started, keep in mind that most accidents occur because the basic precautions and safety rules are not followed. Now is not the time to be thinking of where you're going to go after work or daydreaming of a vacation on the beach. When you're on the job site, it's time to concentrate on your job and the safety of you and your fellow workers. Unless special passenger seats are available, never carry passengers on the machine. Passengers must never be allowed to operate the machine, even when it is equipped with 2 control panels. Also, remember to never climb off or onto the machine while it's in motion. Never means never. You should always select the operator station that is away from the flow of traffic to protect yourself. Remember, there are areas around the machine which are hard or impossible for the operator to see. Protect everyone on the job site by positioning groundmen to monitor these areas. Do not operate the machine unless these spotters have signaled to you that the danger zones are free, and make sure everyone understands what the signals mean. During the milling operation, it may become necessary to change directions, such as at road intersections or the end of a cut. Be careful. Repositioning the machine should only happen when all personnel are accounted for and aware of the machine's movement. Now that we start milling, we have to talk about conveyor belt safety. This is one of our danger zones, so pay careful attention. Never put anything in the conveyors. Only switch on the machine's production elements such as the milling drum and the conveyors during on-site operation and not when repositioning or traveling with the machine. Once milling begins, there are a few operational hazards everyone should be aware of. Always keep well clear of overhead obstacles, machinery, and other hazards, especially when traveling under or over bridges, through tunnels, or past high-voltage lines. Be careful when operating near electrical lines. This could lead to a fatal injury. Be aware of the required safety distance. If the machine should touch high-voltage cables, observe the following. Do not attempt to get off the machine. If possible, move it away from the hazard. Warn others not to come near or touch the machine. Ask someone to have the electrical cable shut off, and wait until the cable no longer carries electricity to get off the machine. You could get electrocuted. When milling, material may get caught in the mold board or scraper. Before clearing the scraper, make sure that all drive systems have been switched off. The safe and proper way to do this is to sound the horn, and the operator will shut down the machine. If necessary, use the emergency stop button. The ground crew should stay away until all rotating or moving parts stop and the operator is aware of your movements. Make sure the water is on and at full pressure, and it's time to start milling. The milling drum is slowly lowered into the surface of the road while the machine is stopped or slowly creeping forward. If the milling drum is lowered too fast, the machine could suddenly surge back, creating a danger zone at the rear of the machine. Make sure no one is in this potential danger zone. In addition, be on the lookout for manholes, rail lines, utility lines, and other obstacles when lowering the milling drum into the surface and during milling. If one of these obstructions is encountered, here's what you should do. Make sure all personnel are clear of the machine. Raise the machine and slowly back up. Stop the machine and check the metal bits. Your supervisor should also be brought in to assess the situation before starting again. It is very important for all those working around the machine to be aware of its unique steering ability. Along with steering with the front tracks, the machine is capable of steering independently with the rear tracks. This allows it to make a tighter turning radius and to move diagonally. This steering ability is called crab steering. With the machine's ability to do crab steering comes an additional danger zone. Operators and ground workers must be extremely alert and continue to communicate when the machine does a crab steering maneuver. Manual depth checks are only done behind the machine after it passes and at a safe distance of 2 meters or approximately 6 feet. This allows for a safe, comfortable, and accurate depth check. Never check between the milling drum and the rear track. This is a danger zone and can result in serious accidents and injuries. To prevent from tipping over, only move the machine over sufficiently solid ground. When entering or leaving a cut, use the grade controls or height adjustment to keep the machine level. If you have to maneuver the machine uphill or downhill over a steep gradient, do so very carefully. Hours of milling naturally cause a certain amount of wear on the cutter bits. This will require the ground crew to occasionally change these cutter bits. Let's look at how to safely do this. The proper way to replace the cutter bits is covered in the operations manual and demonstrated here by the ground crew. First, make sure that the heavy scraper is raised and locked in place. Never disable or alter the function of safety components. The milling drum is now accessible and can be safely inspected. When changing cutter bits, wear safety glasses, gloves, and use the proper tools specified in the manual. The drum can be turned manually by use of a hand crank or automatically with the drum turning device. Using these tools, damaged and worn bits are simply removed and replaced with new ones. After the milling drum has been inspected and the bits replaced, check that all personnel are clear. Then lower the drum door and secure in place. Remove the hand crank and stow it away before you start the milling drum. You are now ready to continue milling. Now let's go through some special situations where extra caution and care should be taken. With its advanced technology, the Wirtgen cold milling machine is a real heavyweight. So before working on any sort of bridge, overpass, or similar road structure, make sure you know the load capacity of the structure, as well as the combined weight of the milling machine and any support vehicles. Keep an eye on Mother Nature. If there is lightning in the area, stop milling immediately. The machine can attract lightning during a thunderstorm. Lock it up and keep well away until the storm has passed. Safety is always the most important consideration. This is especially true when working under conditions of limited visibility or at night. During these times, the lights on and around the machine must be adjusted to eliminate shadows. When doing this, avoid blinding anyone working around the machine or oncoming traffic. In the event you need to tow the machine, follow the safety guidelines in the operating manual. You may be finished milling for the day, but there's still some important work to be done. Just like you need to clean up after a hard day's work, you need to thoroughly wash your Wirtgen cold milling machine. Use the onboard high-pressure washer, but be careful as the wand may kick back from the water pressure. While cleaning, pay special attention to the milling drum, the conveyors, and both the front and rear track areas. Also, keep in mind that the water coming from the machine is not drinkable. When you are finished cleaning, carefully guide the hose back into the reel. The automatic rewind will do the rest. Stow all lights and electronic switches on board the machine in order to prevent them from being stolen or damaged. If the machine is going to be left overnight at the job site, make sure that it is secure against rolling away and unauthorized operation. The best way to do this is to level and lower the machine. Remove all keys. And make sure you park the machine in a place where it will not block traffic. Just like offloading, loading the machine is a matter of teamwork. Let's take a look. When loading the machine, the trailer should be level, not on a slope. The trailer's loading ramp should be sturdy, secure, and sufficiently wide enough for the machine, have an anti-slip surface, and be free of materials like dirt, oil, and snow. Make sure the angle of the ramp does not exceed 13 degrees. The operator should always work with a guide. We cannot stress this point enough. There is a chance that the machine could slip off the ramp or tip over during this procedure. Therefore, no one should stand directly next to the machine while it is being loaded. This is a danger zone. Stop the engine, remove the key, and perform the following checks. Make sure that the changeover valve of the discharge conveyor is in the proper position for the trailer being used. See the manual for details. And the protective coverings are pulled over the control panel and secured. Next, the canopy latches are released and the canopy is put in the transport position and secured. Then, make sure to close and lock all compartments, boxes, and doors correctly and secure the machine to the lowboy. When tying down the machine, make sure you use enough tie downs in accordance with local and state DOT requirements. If you have any questions about these requirements, check with the job site foreman. Once all of the mounted operating equipment is secured and the chains are attached, the milling machine is safe to transport. Just as life is filled with risk, there is always potential for danger working with and around heavy machinery. The first step in preventing injury is to carefully read and follow Wirtgen's safety and operation manuals. By mastering the technique of milling with this innovative machine and following the established safety and operating rules, you will avoid the risk of injury and increase production and quality. It's up to you to reduce these risks as much as possible by always being aware of your surroundings and being on the lookout for possible danger. Only then can you do your job safely and with confidence. Take care of yourself and your team. Thanks for watching.